Look at the current map of Türkiye's higher education system. It is a dense, highly active, interconnected grid spanning the entire country. This data outlines the grid's raw capacity. As of 2026, the country operates 210 ranked universities, employing over 84,000 scientists. A massive portion of this infrastructure is new. 147 are categorized as young, institutions founded within the last 30 years. This footprint indicates a system in the middle of aggressive structural renewal and rapid horizontal expansion. Building hundreds of campuses is a major logistical achievement. We have to analyze whether this massive horizontal volume is actually yielding international competitive power. In scientometric analysis, high institution count proves a country has built a baseline of academic infrastructure. It does not automatically guarantee those institutions produce research that competes at the highest global levels. To measure global influence, we look at elite conversion. This metric tracks how effectively a country translates its massive domestic footprint into top-tier positions on international ranking tables. This table breaks down Türkiye's institutional presence by world rank band, and the results at the very top reveal a severe failure in elite conversion. Out of the entire 210 university system, exactly one institution, Hacettepe University, secures a position inside the global top 500. That is a national workforce of 84,000 academicians, funneling their combined output into a system that yields a single elite global node. Evaluating Türkiye's actual academic trajectory requires looking past the gross number of campuses and auditing the structural quality of its research outputs. A national apparatus producing massive volume without achieving significant global density is now facing a clear systemic bottleneck. If 209 of Turkey's 210 universities are locked out of the global top 500, we need to locate exactly where the bulk of the system is operating. The distribution creates a pattern known as mid-tier compression. Look at the density here. Rather than a steady curve, 142 institutions are packed tightly into the 1,001 to 5,000 ranking band. Compare that mid-tier bulge to the immediate drop-off. Above the 1,000 mark, the presence of Turkish universities essentially flatlines. We see the same clustering on this scatter plot mapping world rank against continent rank. The dots form a thick, unbroken line in the middle segments, rather than scattering upward into the higher elite brackets. The data proves the strategy of building horizontal infrastructure worked. The physical capacity is there, but vertical mobility is stalled. The influx of those 147 younger universities we noted earlier is primarily adding volume to this crowded middle layer. They are increasing the national footprint without yet pushing the elite boundary. The state has completed its construction phase. Now, focus must shift to lifting the mass of institutions currently stalled in the mid-tier. Understanding how to elevate those institutions requires looking inside the system to see which funding models are actually bearing the competitive load. Analyzing the division between state-funded and independent universities reveals a deep structural asymmetry. Public universities hold a global median rank of 2,654, while the private sector's median sits lower at 4,933. At the top tier, that gap widens. Of the 18 Turkish universities in the global top 1,000, 16 are public and only 2 are private. The numbers show that legacy, state-funded institutions remain the primary engines generating Türkiye's international academic visibility. The private sector does not provide systemic leadership. Instead, it operates on a strict model of selective excellence. Highly visible institutions like Koç University and Bilkent achieve globally competitive positions, but they are outliers. They do not represent the average performance of the broader private cohort. The wider private sector is highly polarized. A long tail of lower-performing institutions drags the overall private median down into the 5,000-plus ranking bands. While elite private niches are highly branded, the core academic resilience of the nation relies almost entirely on the state system. To identify exactly where that state system is succeeding, we have to bypass institutional averages and look at granular, subject-level data. This introduces the disciplinary conversion gap. The widespread teaching of a subject across the country does not guarantee those departments produce globally competitive research. This chart isolates the specific academic fields where Turkish universities break through the top 500 ceiling. Education is the clear load bearer, with 35 universities reaching top-tier global status. Architecture, agriculture, and medical sciences also achieve high-ranking visibility. But look at the bottom of the chart. Fields like law and business management, despite having massive enrollments domestically, yield almost zero global elite presence. Even highly populated areas like natural sciences and social sciences exhibit a significant gap between their institutional size and their elite international presence. While they outperform the near-total absence seen in law or business, they have yet to match the conversion rates of Turkey's top-performing subjects. This creates a dangerous long-term asymmetry. The country's international reputation is balancing entirely on a narrow set of specialized pillars. An imbalanced disciplinary structure leaves the national academic frontier brittle. Elevating those high-volume, low-ranking subject areas requires precise, targeted interventions. Reviewing the data, the true architecture of Turkey's higher education system becomes clear. It is a massive network restricted by mid-tier compression, driven heavily by public institutions, and reliant on a handful of high-performing subject areas. The findings point to a single policy mandate for the next phase of development. Vertical optimization must immediately replace continued horizontal expansion. Future funding and strategic planning need to target the dense cluster of 142 universities currently resting in the 1,001 to 5,000 ranking band, aggressively pushing them upward. It also requires restructuring the research pipelines in high-volume, failing subject areas, specifically the massive but globally invisible business and legal disciplines. Breaking through the global top 500 barrier demands concentrated investment and targeted research support, not resources distributed evenly across a bloated baseline. The initial project of building an academic infrastructure across Türkiye is complete. The country's future momentum will be determined entirely by its ability to convert that massive volume into definitive elite global depth.